Hello everybody, this is working fine now. We should be live. I want to welcome you to our webinar. Today is Tuesday, April 7th, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, Halifax, Nova Scotia. I want to welcome you to our webinar hosted by Modest3. I want to introduce you to my colleague who's going to be manning the chat room to answer any of your questions live as we go. Hamza. And let's get started. The way we're going to do this webinar quickly is I'd like to show you a product that we created this tool in. So to give you a little background about what we do is Modest3D, we're a digital transformation specialist leveraging augmented reality, virtual reality, computer-based trading, all the immersive technologies. We developed our own platform for content development, rapid content development, and another platform for deployment and project coordination and management. The way we're going to do this overall for the day is first I'm going to go through a little bit about Portal, about the management system, and then from there we're going to transition quickly into Editor, Explorer Editor, to show you the actual environment that we created and show you an entire presentation that was created in the Explorer. And then we're going to jump into Explorer Editor mode to actually show you the file as we created it and edited it, to show you how quickly we can change things to save them and sync them up. Now, towards the end of the presentation, we're going to do a live demo where we're going to actually invite the users that are currently logged on to the webinar to join us live. So my colleague is going to post some information in the chat room, link about how to join, how to get registered under Explorer, how to install it, how to download the project, and get logged on. And this way, you'll be able to join us in the end of the presentation in the live demo inside the environment through your mobile device, whether it's if you're on a PC currently or a mobile, Android or iOS, doesn't matter. Whatever you have, just log on, join us, and we can have a live demo of the environment. Okay, so to give you a quick overview here, this is our Modest3D portal dashboard. This gives you quick info about type of information you need to register for our training. Now, this is not going to concern you for now, but where we're going to go from here is to My Project. And under My Projects, of course, we have tons of projects in here, but I'm just going to use a quick filter menu to go to the one intended for us today. I click on the XR trade show, and let's just get started right into the trade show. Now notice here I have play or play VR. Of course, if there's VR connected to my machine and we play it, it will automatically launch that version of the lesson or presentation. But if I don't, of course, I can launch it in my play. Just stand on my computer. So some of the use cases that we use this tool for is of course, business meetings, and whenever there's a product demonstration, you want to demonstrate a 3D product. Now, of course, whether it's distance that's an issue or just feasibility of transporting equipment, you can just simply show it in a 3D environment and, of course, take it from 3D to VR or AR once that's the route of development taken. Now, I want to welcome you here to the Modest3D trade show. Now, if we have any users that checked out our last webinar last week, you will notice that there's been some modifications now. Of course, this was just a generic floor, but now you can start seeing it's coming to life. There's the overall plan, the floor plan of the trade show that we're trying to aim for. Of course, we'll start from the one closest here, is some of our partners, Flight Path, and of course their booth presentation. Of course, there's Modest3D. Shout out to our friends at Atlantic Canada Opportunity Agency, ACOA. And then we got our Atlantic Canada Association. Oh, very nice video playing in there. And of course our partners, some of the guys that make the best gearboxes in the world, Rank. And our friends down in Wisconsin, GE Healthcare. Shout out to them too. Now, of course, this environment is meant to be an environment to meet with colleagues, meet with members. Now, whether it's for the purpose of education, the purpose is selling product, business meetings, doesn't really matter. As long as there is the idea of trying to gather people inside the same environment to meet with each other, to collaborate with each other, continue the conversations, this is what this environment is created for. Think about it like a 3D menu that's designed to simply be able to take you from lesson to lesson to lesson inside the same environment. Now, of course, you can have personal communication in here, one-on-one meetings, and once that happens, you can issue a handshake type functionality where you would reach out to your hand and shake the other person. And of course, from there, you would be able to pass them certain information. So let's just toggle some of that here. Menu. Now from this 3D environment, of course, we can take all the different people, and once we do the presentation in live, and if we have users for multiplayer, we can show you more of these tools on the right hand side once we go to the different environment. Now from here, of course, we can make it that once you have that meeting, you change business cards, you change formalities, you caught up with your colleague, now you want to take them to a private room where you show them a specific product and a specific presentation focused around this product. So from here, of course, you can have it that the environment is triggered by simply clicking on a screen. So now that there's interest in that video, so now we jump to the auditorium lesson embedded within the 3D menu. Now, of course, this is a standard auditorium. You got screens everywhere, a space for a product, and a space for all the guests that you can invite over. Now, of course, here you can start the presentation by introducing yourself and giving them your business card, so everybody has your contact info. And then we can jump right into the presentation. Now, from here, you'll notice that this is slide based, so when we create it, we think about easy usability and creation for the team. We don't expect the creators of these presentations to have technical backgrounds. We expect them to be experts in their field. So your training managers, your marketing teams, your sales teams, your BD people. We don't want you to create to get into a hard software to try to learn. This is very quick where you can create presentations on the fly. We're talking hours instead of weeks, weeks instead of months, months instead of years. So a really quick, streamlined way to create presentations on the fly to always keep changing. So here, of course, our slides play. I can either select on them individually, or I can just simply navigate with clicking front and back on the menu. Now here, for easy purpose and for the screen real estate, I'll just navigate the menu on the bottom. So of course, slide based. So once I click on, you notice that my camera automatically focused to that slide. It's because that was the intention of the presentation. And once I click the next one, simply we rotate the camera around. You're still inside the 3D environment, and anytime you can rotate, but that's the default position of that specific slide. And we'll get more into that once we show you in the creation how to do that, how to set up the slide, and how to get the camera pointing to the right spot you want to manipulate it and show it the way that's required. And of course, within the 3D environment, you can have videos. So it's a multimedia application where you can embed your videos, your audio files, your images, spec sheets, presentations. It doesn't really matter. We're also working on a way to natively bring in PDFs and bring in PowerPoint presentations to simply populate the environment, drag and drop to fill up your slides. And of course, you see that there's a 3D model now involved inside the scene, and this is every single component. So I can walk in, and now this menu comes in handy. So in my menu from the top, I have my interact default. This gives me the ability to interact by simply holding the right mouse button using WASD keys to navigate around. Grab is self-explanatory. If I click on it, it gives me the ability to not just highlight, I can actually grab components and move them out of the way. And if I just use interact, then there will be physics applied and they will flop on the floor. Draw shape. If let's say I want to bring the attention of my VIP, whether it's a student or a person I'm trying to show this equipment to, I want to highlight their information here. Oh, look at this router, it does a specific job. And if you look at this fuel injection system, it works, it does some other job. So the idea is to be able to highlight different features really quickly on the fly. And of course, you have the ability to also freely draw on the system. So if you wanted to, let's say, focus on a rotor or show something about the specific component, simply click on it, say, hey, you see this guy here, rotates in this direction, it's roughly a high, give him a little note about it, whatever the case may be. Now, beacon and group teleport, these features are really made for when you have a group or an actual multiplayer. So when you want to bring everybody's attention, the whole group, to one location, you would use beacon. It would act like a flag or a highlighted area to bring everybody to. And group teleport, you force everyone to teleport or come to this location. So you make them, you manipulate their spot. Now, a really cool thing is here, this model I just manipulated by simply switching back and forth in my presentation. It goes back to its default, so I don't lose a beat. And from here, of course, I can jump into my features like highlight, where simply it's self-explanatory. If I select the piece, I will highlight it for everybody in the room. Undo that, of course. And then I have my X-ray, where I can X-ray on components. So to show them what something is, what surfaces are behind, just jump in real quickly and show them that. And of course, clear effect is exactly that. I can clear the effects. Changing color, simply I can, let's say for example, I'm trying to show, educate a group of people about a cold system versus a hot system, just for example. Then, I would select a color like red and select a bunch of pieces and say, hey, these are all hot systems, and these here are, cool systems. Or whatever the case may be. It could be also a biology class with a human anatomy, the respiratory system versus digestive system. It doesn't matter. It's simply as a 3D model, and you manipulate the 3D model to highlight what is it exactly you're trying to pass the message or knowledge. Is it education based? Is it focused for marketing? Is it focused for sales? It doesn't really matter on our end. The creation process is the same. It gives you the ability to create content quickly, to highlight your message and show it in a multimedia way, whether it's in VR, AR, Android, iOS, PC. It doesn't matter. As long as you have a type of technology, log on. We don't want you out there purchasing from new hardware. Just log on. Now, of course, there's some natively built-in X-ray that we did in the presentation part. So I can, of course, do this on the fly here, or it's built in previously. In this one here, you see that the person that built the lesson wants to highlight internal features, so they X-rayed all the outside surface. Of course, we can have our coloring schemes and 3D labels. And of course, the 3D labels can be interchangeable, whether what font color you want, what backgrounds you want, all that can be changed. You have the ability to change almost every feature. Of course, now you have your expand or your explosion view. This is always a fun view to educate people and capture their attention, because in 3D this is quite impressive to do quickly on the fly. In VR, it's a lot more impressive because you get to see the pieces fly around you. But in augmented reality, it's just absolutely extraordinary because the pieces are flying around you in the real world, and you get to see them all around the room floating around you. So it's pretty neat. And of course, we don't expect people to build in these complicated. Sometimes doing these expansion views or features gets quite cumbersome. But in the editor version of Explorer, you'll see that it's quite easy. We just simply give it the root of the model, and there's built-in algorithms to give you what feature of expand you want. And we'll go more into that once we show you the actual ability to edit. So there's some group isolation. And then we go back into the introduction of the presentation. So now we'll jump into the final scene, which is a 360 video recording that we can populate the whole environment around you. So once so let's say now you did your presentation or your initial meeting in the trade show floor. You took the prospect or your students or whatever the group is back to this private room or the auditorium, where you showed them now the actual 3D environment, and you showed it from every angle, let them experience it. And now we can take them to the actual facility that maybe an equipment is being built or the research is being done or whatever the case may be. And the idea now is you do the triple approach where you have initial meetings, you have your conversations or your private informative discussions, and then you have a site walkthrough or visit their site type thing, right? And while this is loading, I'd like to take this opportunity again to remind you, for anybody that joined us on the live chat, Feel free to download the software, register through the links provided, and join us for the end of the presentation. Okay, now we're inside this 360 environment. So this is an actual recording of a boat launch. I'm going to experience it and see what everybody's doing, what everybody's doing in this joyous moment. And of course, this could be a multiplayer environment or a multi-user environment. We have up to, I believe, 20 people that are can be in here natively on the fly. And that number can be increased, of course, depending on your internet accessibility and power, of course. Okay, and from now, actually I'd like to take you to the editing version of Xplorer. We actually show you how these presentations came to life and what steps we took to create it. And again, give you a quick reminder that feel free to join us, and this way you take advantage of joining us towards the end. If there's any person, invite. Yep. So let me just close down here really quickly. Perfect. If I did this correctly now, you should be able to jump into the editor view of the trade show lesson. Let's do the auditorium. There we go. So now I'm just loading the file or the project file or folder that I've used to create this presentation. And now you actually see a little bit about the Explorer tool and how we use it to create these presentations quickly. So I'll just give you a quick overview of the product really quickly. So this is meant to be a content creator tool to create presentations that you want to leverage digitally for distant learning or distance education. So it's a quick tool, slide-based, drag and drop. We're not expecting you to have technical background. Takes about 2 to 3 days a week tops to learn this tool, to really understand the ins and outs of it, to understand how to create these environments, create these presentations, and be able to share it to your entire network. So from the top, we take leverage of a ribbon system, a quick way to be able to do your features and interactions. So from the top, you have your undo and redo, an advanced camera toggle. Simply, if you switch back and forth, it gives you the ability to switch from camera types, so you can use the one that better works for you. To the left of that, you have your 4 standard new state, reset state, delete state, or duplicate state. Think about them like the PowerPoint presentation slides. You're either creating a new slide, you're resetting the information in it, you're deleting, or you're duplicating something. Your top here, you have your hide all but selected object, so you hide the environment except the object you have selected currently. You have your hide object that you have selected, so you select an object and you hide that one. Of course, focus is standard. You click on an object, focus, it brings the camera focus on that piece. You have your 4 features that we were interacting inside the 3D environment: your clear effects, your highlight, your X-raying, and your color manipulation. Then you have your hit point and your label. And we'll get into those once we actually start creating. So right here really quickly, we'll create a new slide. I'll give it a name and say start. And you'll notice that the first thing you'll see is the environment took its default position. And you'll see this big gizmo here in the middle. And this gizmo just will help you. Whenever you see it, it gives you the ability to move objects up and down, or around, rotate them, whatever the case may be. So here, let me just zoom in a little bit. I'm just scrolling in with my mouse, getting to the position that I want. In this case here, let's focus on the engine. So there's the engine right in front of us. So if I want to quickly do a manipulation, it's simple as this. Now, whatever position I leave this camera, that will become my slide focus for PC. But when it comes to virtual reality, of course, it's all about teleportation points and where you're teleporting to. So in this case here, I'll select the slide, and you'll notice that in the slide I have the option to say VR teleport. And once I do that, if I look around, I will see a little gizmo. There it is. And if I drag this guy up, I see a little halo. Now wherever I position this halo, this will become the native area to teleport to activate a slide. So this slide here that's named start will only activate once I'm inside the 3D presentation and I navigate to that teleport in VR and teleport to it. If I'm on PC, of course, I just simply click next in the slide. Now another thing I can do really quickly here is on the floor itself, I can select the floor and make that a teleportable area. So here I can make this whole area now become teleportable. It won't necessarily change the slide to a different one, it will just give me the ability to navigate. So let's say in this slide here I showed the engine. I want to also give the ability for my people joining me, my guests, to be able to navigate around the room, around the engine, more importantly, and be able to see it from different areas, or the point of interest, whether it's a human body, whether it's an engine, equipment, a gearbox, it doesn't matter. The point of interest is the focus. So to get away from VR for a bit right now, let's just click away from here. And let's do back to our quick manipulations. So if I want to, let's say, create a quick manipulation from this engine, you have to think about it like a transition. States are different from, we're not changing the model's native information or anything, we're just manipulating its current state. So at this state here, the model is static, there's nothing. I'll create a new one and say maybe remove part. Pardon the spelling. But notice how it took me to this default position. So this wasn't the desired effect that I wanted. So I will just delete this guy real quickly. Focus back on my engine. Now this time, instead of saying new, I will duplicate because I want to keep the same position. So start will take the model back to its native default. Duplicate will duplicate the exact same position you're in. So I can give it, I won't change the camera on the student or the user. I will just simply change the interaction. So here you'll notice that the engine is static, but on the second one, I'm going to maybe drag this piece out. Now, of course, I'm doing this just very quickly. The right way to do it will be you'd actually go to the bolts that are holding it down and remove those individually off, and then a second slide, you'd remove that equipment off. And maybe here I want to X-ray this one. And maybe I want to add a 3D label to this guy here. Now the label comes in usually small, so you have to drag it up a little bit, and then inside the property menu, go in, find the font size. So let me just find this real quickly. Where are you? There it is. Now let's do 200. This is a little bit bigger. So it makes it a little bit easier to see and read. So now, slide 1, the one I created, was just a default slide. But now you see this one, I actually added a X-ray, a label change, and a model move. So quickly on the fly I did that. Now let's take it a step further. So let's say now I want to do a do another duplicate of this one, because notice how I don't want to duplicate this because it already has some features in it. So I want to start from the native, so I can just duplicate this guy here, call it X-ray, sorry, expand. and I position it here. So now here comes the interesting feature. Let's say I want to do an exploded view or an expanded view of a component, and I don't want to drag individual pieces around, and it could get cumbersome. But here we do it for you much easier. So simply go to your mode menu under expand option. It's going to give you a library of pre-made algorithms that will separate the model in different directions and different orientations and different ways and points of origin to give you desired effects. Now, because we don't know what model you're going to be using, and we don't know who modeled it and what standard they followed to model it, this way we can give you a desired result without worrying about the standard of the model. And the root is exactly the item we want to interact with in this menu here. Simply, I will go into my scene hierarchy, expand that, and here's a standard we always work with. When you're working with a 3D interactive environment, you always should work with a standard that everybody in your team can streamline the process. So in our model orientation or hierarchy, our interactive objects are in one group, our passive are in one group, and then our background objects, the things that we're never going to interact with, are in one group. So this way makes it easier and much more quicker for me to navigate this environment. So now I want to interact with the CFM 56, the engine. So I'm going to expand that, and under it I see that there's an engine model and there's an engine stand. Now I don't want to use with the engine stand for this view. If anything, the engine stand is going to be in my way, so I want to hide that. Simply click on that, hit the hide button. Now it's gone. And I'm going to take my root, and how I know if I selected the root or just the name of it is you should see a feedback from the actual engine. So if I just click on this here, nothing happens. But if I hit Alt and then click on it, you'll notice that it turns green. That tells me that I didn't only select the name, I've also selected all the children nested in the hierarchy. Now I can drag that right into my root, and just as simple as this, now I can start applying all the different algorithms built in. So because I don't know what effect is going to happen, I'm going to expand a little bit. I noticed that it started going away from me. This is not the end of the world, it's okay. If anything, I'm going to hold it a little bit out here, about a quarter way out. And then I'm going to start changing the algorithms until I get one that works for what I'm trying to show. So I'm going to zoom out a little bit to get a desired effect. And I'm sure I'll find one here that works for what I want to do. So this one I'm starting to like where this is going, but let's try a couple of more. No, yeah, that should have been the best one there. Alright, perfect. So I like where this one's going, since it's an engine and it's a turbine engine, so I know it's going to expand best on its axes, of the x-axis, more than its other axes. So let's do that, let's manipulate that. So here you have your axes, and I simply can toggle that on. And all this will do is it will undo the effect, or the algorithm's effect, of expanding the engine. So if I click Z, it will undo the Z axis expansion, Y will undo the Y, and X will undo the X. But notice how the X gave me a nice expansion because this is a turbine engine. So notice that nice piece where I can separate all the different components. Perfect. Gives me a good spot for me here. So now I just created a quick 3-slide presentation. One being the default native. Second, added 3 separate functionalities. One is a relocation of a piece. One is a 3D label on a component. Another X-ray. And a third, I put in a expansion algorithm. So now let's take another step further and say maybe, wait, I will not do slide this time. I will do duplicate. Switch modes here. So this one, I will do a quick screen change here. So let's say I select this object. So it's very important to notice that there is a difference between selecting a component versus selecting a interactable surface or an object. Perfect. Okay, and now we'll jump into towards the final part of our presentation, where we're going to actually invite some of the users live into our 3D surface. So if there's any users that are currently interested in joining us in the last part of the presentation, the live piece, please feel free to voice your opinion in the chat, and we'll get the invitation sent to you immediately so you can join us. It should take nothing more than 5 to 10 minutes, so bear with us while we do this. Okay. And from here, I'll close it down, and we'll see if there's any users that are currently registered for us. Anything on your end, Mr. Hamza? Okay, so right now I'll launch the multiple player version of this, so bear with me while I close Explorer down. And now under the extra trade show, play. There you go. So now he's got to log back into Explorer. Now I can create a room, public room. For the XR trade show again. And we'll start at the auditorium, or sorry, at the trade show. I'll invite some of my some users here.
Laura.
Let's invite Laura. That should be good for now. Now as they launch. So now as they launch, two things can happen. One, if they've already downloaded the lesson, then they will simply get a notification to join us in this lesson or in this presentation. If they haven't downloaded the presentation, then they will get a two-part invitation. One, to invite them to this presentation, and once they initiate that, it will invite them to download the presentation, so now they have the same one. And this will give us the ability to sync both users in the same environment. Now, as I do this, you're going to see that users are going to start populating. Oh, there's right there, one of our friends. Hello, how are you doing? Now, of course, I see him and he sees me as drones flying around. If I was logging in as virtual reality, you would see me as a human avatar with hands that can move around. And we're adding more avatars in, and we're also adding the ability for users to be able to add their own custom avatar. This is coming through. Now, if you're joining us, if you've seen this last presentation last week, you would notice that in the top right button there was no button here, and we told you about the system we're putting in place to make it easier for people to chat inside a large room, and without it getting too noisy. So our solution to this is simply adding in a push to speak button. So as I'm talking, my device will not pick up any audio, and same for every other presenter or every other guest or colleague inside this environment, unless I hit the speak button. And simply I'd hit the button and speak to them, and now they would hear me through my microphone, through their audio, and we can have communication. As I release, they get the chance to speak back. Now I've been talking with some our clients. They give some feedback, but they want to know who's talking when. So we might be adding another feature to show you who's currently talking. This way, you don't have people clicking the button at the same time. But now I'd like to show you this feature here that I was showing you about earlier. Now they're active because the environment knows now we have multiple users. Oh, there's another user there. Hello. So let's say I want to bring their attention to this location here. Simply activate a beacon. And now I get a flag with a nice shiny light that comes up to let everybody know, hey, everybody come here. But let's say I didn't get their attention, or the room was too loud, or I want to take them somewhere else, and this time maybe I want to transport them over without even asking their permission, or give them the ability to come there. I'll just I'll force them there. So I select my teleport group, and I tell them I want you to look at the flag, and I want you to stand at the yellow line, looking at that little flag. If you can see it there. So now I can bring everybody standing there, looking at this flag. Or again, I can do it in a circle in case, let's say, we're looking at a circular item, maybe like right here, and say, hey, I want everybody to come around my booth. There it is. So now I invite everybody to this booth, so now I can have a presentation and talk with everybody. Hello group, how are you doing? And we can have our conversation. Now the really cool part, let's say we had a conversation here, we met, we did our formalities, but I want to take them to a private conversation now. So last week we were telling you we're going to add in a feature where you can click on an object in the 3D environment and that would launch another place. Well, we work really fast, we like to develop very fast, and we like to always move and evolve our product. So this feature is fresh off the press, where now I can simply go into an environment, say I like this video, I like what I'm seeing, I want to go to that environment. By simply clicking on that environment, I'll be able to get in there. Yeah, and of course it happens, technical issues, don't worry about it. And now I can take them with me from this trade show floor to a different environment and fly in. And of course now I took them to my second presentation room, and you should start the people that are with me in the environment. Now they will get a load screen, and it will simply load this new environment, and now they're here with me. And there's our second user. And of course, as I present, I can take my traditional role and stand behind the podium. Hello everybody, very nice to meet you, join us today. And as I go through the presentation, of course, the slides will change. And then I can add in the product video. And now we show them the actual equipment, and we invite them to come take a closer look, guys. And then, hey, maybe this is where now the tools come in handy. So I want to teleport everybody to this location so they can take a look at this very nice propeller that we're building here. So now I bring them over and say, hey guys, check this thing out. This guy right here. That's super cool. Did you guys know that this guy rotates this way? Give him some direct feedback. Give him some dimensions. Now of course on the live, as I switch the presentation, I can again show them the X-ray views. So the entire presentation that we created can be shared to a mass audience. So you create it locally, but share it globally. And now our, the grand feature of Expand, to show them all the inner workings of the system. You're only limited to what you really can imagine when it comes to what you want to create or what you want to highlight. It really comes down to two things. What 3D environments do you currently have or you want to show? and what's the message that you want to show, whether it's a presenting for educational purposes, whether it's for sales and marketing purposes. That doesn't really matter. Now, we help in every step of the way. So the first thing you need to acquire is what is it you're trying to show, and what 3D assets do you have, and is it something you already have that we can use to streamline that process, or is it something that we have to build for you, whether build it from scratch, or build it from a CAD renderings, build it from 3D previous engineering models, whatever the case may be. There's a lot of different ways to acquire the 3D model to get you to the starting position. And once you have the 3D model, now it's all about what's the story you're trying to write. Whether it's marketing purposes, whether it's sales or education and knowledge sharing purpose, or is engineering, you want to collaborate different minds together around a certain system, where maybe doing it in the real world is difficult, whether because of travel restrictions, it's too expensive, whatever the case may be, or maybe even the equipment is just too big and huge to transport to the whole world. Whatever the case may be, this environment is perfect for it. Now, because we leverage agnostic approach to across all platforms, this gives the ability for your users to join you from a wide range of user bases without having to have expensive, powerful computers to run these environments. Mobile devices, tablets, iOS, Android, all are welcome. Just simply download, log on, and re-collaborate with your team members and re-share your environment. Now, after we've done the presentation or the initial conversation in the trade show floor, now we took them to our private room where we had our discussions about the equipment, and we shot some ideas. Now, again, let's say I want to take them to my actual work facility to show them a site tour or something without having to do it physically. We simply just jump in. And again, it doesn't matter what industry, whether it's aviation, Navy, medical, defense, or education. It doesn't really matter. The real question always is the same. What 3D model or 3D environment you're going to use, and what's the story that you're going to portray in this environment. So now I invited my colleagues with me. So there they are again. They're populating inside the room. And now together, three of us, we can experience this boat launch, or whatever the site tour. It could be an office site tour, it could be a facility, it could be an oil refinery, a hospital, a college. It doesn't matter. Some of the applications our clients been using it is very wide. We have clients from the medical industry, from defense, aviation, naval and marine systems, land systems. It's a very wide use case, and there's a way to help a lot of people in a lot of different ways. So feel free, if you have any questions in the chat, please keep the questions rolling. We don't want to think about the chat like a question answer period, but think about it as a communication, knowledge sharing. Just keep that conversation going, and see if there's anything that piques your interest that you want further clarification on. Because this whole process can be repeated again and again and again. So the idea is you met at the trade show, you took them to your private auditorium for your private demonstrations, and you took them back to your facility. But now, let's say you have a meeting in another couple more hours, we'll simply go back to that to the trade show floor and repeat that entire process again. So you're not missing a beat. So when it comes to trade missions, when it comes to long distance business development initiatives, all this can be rolled back in again. There is no stopping this type of technology. It's going to reach everyone. So you might as well get on the bandwagon early. There you go. Now clicking on the trade show floor will initiate the auditorium, and now we will jump there again, and we repeat the process back to back. Now we're aiming to do another webinar today in the afternoon. If there's any current guests logged in that they want to see anything specific for there, maybe a little more in the creation process, we're welcome to do so. Let us know what you think. Your feedback is always welcome, and thank you for joining us. We really appreciate this. This product was created a lot from the feedback of our clients and our users. So feel free, if you see a feature that you think you'd like it to be in there or something, let us know. And if it's something that's within our design direction, of course it will be in there. We'll just bump it up ahead of the line because somebody wants it, right? And we'll go from there. Thank you guys, really appreciate this, and hopefully you can join us again later on in the afternoon, And feel free, if you like what you've seen, share us on the different platforms, or reach out to us on different platforms. Facebook, LinkedIn, we're on social media. You can find us. Just find Modest3, and you'll find us. Thank you very much, guys. Really appreciate your time. Hopefully this was informative. If not, at least a little bit entertaining. And looking forward to seeing you guys in the future.